Hello, I'm John Rossi, a touring drummer with a love of all things animal. When I'm on the road, I visit as many zoos, aquariums... Hey, wait a minute. What's going on? Hey, what's going on there? Hello? Hello? We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you Rossifari Zoo news. News you can use from the world of zoos and conservation. Every week, we bring you breaking news and analysis from around the globe, featuring the animals you love and the people who care for them. And here's your anchorman, John Rossi. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to Rossifari Zoo News, your look at everything going on in the world of zoos, aquariums, conservation, and general animal weirdness. All right, y'all, so to start off our week, Project for Awesome is over. Thank you to everyone who voted and who donated to my fundraiser. We won't know the results of Project for Awesome until May, which, as you can imagine, is driving me a little batty, but I'll probably forget about it at some point here. But the good news is that we did raise a lot of awareness for tree kangaroos. A lot of people saw those posts. A lot of people were interacting with our Instagram and Facebook and such. And so whether we got money that way or not, I feel really good about that fact. I learned a lot about how to reach out to different groups that I haven't engaged with before. And I'll be able to use that moving forward. And I'll be able to use that for next year's Project for Awesome video. Things like the entire safe community on AZA. There's on the website, there's an actual community that we have. And I didn't realize how to register for it and engage with everyone quite in time to do it this year. But now I'm able to. And now I can. And that's exciting stuff. So whatever happens, whether we get a grant or not this year, it's the start of a beautiful thing, and y'all got to be a big part of that, and I appreciate that. And then going along with that, of course, there was the raffle to have our lovely vintage tree kangaroo plush go out to somebody, and also some other plushes, and also some peppermint narwhal animal calendars. And that raffle was done yesterday on Thursday, the 19th, and winners have been notified. I'm waiting to hear back from some of them. We kind of have to go in order. But our good friend and Red Panda level patron Laura Schenk actually won the Tree Kangaroo plush, which I'm really excited about because sometimes I hang out with Laura, and that means occasionally I can see this plush. So that makes me happy because that's really the only reason why. Sorry, Laura. No, I'm kidding. But it's cool that it went to somebody who I've known for a very long time. And I'm excited about that. So yay. And yeah, we raised $610 that went directly to the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program, and that's incredible. And I heard today from the philanthropy person at I said that really well. Philanthropy person at Woodland Park Zoo. Her name is Rachel, and it turns out she's a fan of Rossifari. So she called to do the official congratulation thing, but also was like, "Oh my God, I'm a fan." It was really cute. And Rachel, if you're listening, I assume you are. Hi. And then just really, really good stuff all around. So very excited about that. And of course, as part of doing a thing for tree kangaroos, I felt like I needed to see some tree kangaroos, and the closest tree kangaroos to me are in Cleveland. And so on Monday this week, I went to Cleveland and got some tree kangaroo time. And the three there are just so wonderful and such interesting animals. Renbo, the Joey, is almost full size now, but not quite yet. And it was fun. Actually, it was really fun. The dad has the same digit issue that Morobe had, and so he also flicks you off while he eats, which is really funny. On a completely unrelated note, I was recently told by somebody that they hear, the term flick off from me, and I'm the only person who says it. Now, I also use the term flip off. I use them interchangeably. But I swear, I grew up with people saying that it was flicking off as well as flipping off, as well as giving the finger and all the other things. And I have been told by, I think, two different people now, actually, that they've never heard flick off other than me, and that they know what I mean, but that it's weird. So I am curious if flick off is something that y'all have heard before, or if that is just a weird Johnism, or if it's a central Pennsylvania-ism, central PA-ism, I don't know. But yeah, so anyway, but it was very cool to see those tree kangaroos in Cleveland. Yeah, and then as far as other things coming up, as y'all are listening to this, I will be on my way to visit with Miles for the weekend, and then I will be doing Shades of Joel in Rochester. It's the world premiere of that tribute concert, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And our good buddy Taylor Gray, who you hear doing a lot of the songs on here, is the person who wrote that one, and will be kind of the Billy Joel for it. It's not a true tribute. He doesn't like go by Billy Joel, but like he'll be singing most of the songs and playing, you know, the piano. So if that ain't Billy Joel, I don't know what is. So with all of that said, it is time to get to it. So without further ado,
We've been taking care of pandas and the seals, taking care of pandas, feeding meals. We've been taking care of pandas with Zoo News, taking care of pandas and picking up their poos, pooping out.
all right. And we're going to start with our headline story this week. And despite the joy in that goofy song and in my voice as I transition here, this is a sad one. And for anyone who has been on my socials, you know what's coming. But I need to use this space to say goodbye to Morobe the tree kangaroo. I don't even have the words. As a lot of you all who've been listening for a while know, I say goodbye to a lot of animals on this podcast, and a lot of times they're animals that I've met or interacted with or been a fan of online. But few of those losses hit me as hard as the loss of Morobe. When I was told about this, which fortunately it was nice that happened before it went public, which I always appreciate. And when I was told about it, you know, I usually get very sad when I see something like that. But I was surprised at the fact that I just started crying, like a lot. And, you know I shared some of this in the post, but I don't know. I want to say it. So I was playing the national tour of A Night with Janis Joplin in 2019. And it ended up being a really great experience and one of my favorite shows. But it started worse than any gig ever has. I was hired to music direct it, and it was kind of done under a little bit of duress. I was music directing the national tour of $1 Million Quartet, and we were on a break. And I got a phone call from the producer of A Night with Janis Joplin, basically saying that their music director had backed out and that the tour was launching in like 2 weeks, and that I had been recommended by multiple people, but it was to the point where if I said no, then they were going to have to cancel the tour. So what was supposed to be weeks at home and relaxing and honestly getting ready for the next leg of $1 Million Quartet instead became me being the drummer and music director of 2 national tours simultaneously, though one was on a small break. And I look back at that now, and it's the most insane thing, I think, ever. I don't know many people that can say that they did that. And I actually have a picture of the venue in San Antonio, Texas, where both of our posters are hanging because I ended up playing there twice within a couple of weeks between the 2 different tours. And it's one of my favorite posters ever because it's just who gets to have that experience, right? So I said yes, and I went in wildly underprepared. Not on purpose. I just 2 weeks is not enough time to get ready to music direct a musical you've never heard before with a full band, including horn section, and 5 vocalists who are also acting and doing things. And we basically had a few days of rehearsal in Providence, and they didn't go super well. There were technical issues and all kinds of stuff. And it was the last day of our tech rehearsal. It was like our 3rd day there, which if you know anything about theater, you know how insane that is. And again, this is for a national tour. And I knew that I needed to get my head in better shape. And so, of course, I did what I always do when I need that or don't on the road, which is I hopped an Uber and went to Roger Williams Park Zoo. Granted, I can't always go to Roger Williams Park Zoo. It depends where I am. But in this case, I was lucky that it's one of my favorite zoos. And the pandas were not out, but Morobe was out, and he was on his little platform, and I have some really bad pictures through the glass of him from that day that I cherish. They're certainly not Insta worthy, but they are my heart worthy, because I sat with Morobe for a very, very long time. Actually, that's kind of a lie. I didn't have a long time, but I ran to the panda habitat, saw that no one was out, and ran back to Morobe and hung out with him as long as I could. And then, as I was leaving, I ran by Panda one more time, and the old gentleman that lived there back then popped his head out and looked directly at me. And between those two experiences, I felt super calm and ready to take on the tour, and just went back to my work in a much better headspace. And, that was before Rossifari was a thing. That was 2019. And that Morobe dude meant a lot to me. And then in 2020, as I launched the podcast, they did an episode with Lou Peretti at the zoo. And Lou is their conservation director, and he's amazing. And after our interview, I mentioned to him how much I love tree kangaroos. And he was like, oh my gosh, come on and meet ours. And I couldn't believe it. This was before I knew that was going to be a thing with the podcast, y'all. And I was going to get to meet the cool tree kangaroo who made me feel better. And then he couldn't find any of the keepers, and he had a meeting and gave up. And that's totally cool, and I get it. But I have to tell you, my heart was broken. I'm not going to lie. But then it was unbroken when I went back and got to meet Morobe and his family. And you all have heard the episodes. You know that Mac and Allison, along with Corey, the PR person there, have given me a lot of access to those tree kangaroos. And I've gotten to have a lot of cool experiences, and I got to build relationships with all of them. And one of those things was that I took a video of Morobe eating. And it just so happens that he has a finger joint issue that, as I mentioned in the intro here, is not uncommon with older tree kangaroos. And it makes it look like he is flipping you off, giving you the old middle finger. And it went super viral. I think about 10 million people saw this video of Morobe just crunching a carrot. And it makes me so happy, because so many people took one look at Morobe and were begging to know what it was and learn about them. And, who knows who followed up with that. But 10 million people had the opportunity to see a tree kangaroo because of Morobe. And all he was doing was, eating and flipping us off, apparently. And so, yeah, this was just a really, really hard loss for me. I've talked before about the fact that Paya is my true heart tree kangaroo, and Paya is his daughter. And I spent a lot of time with all of them, and then about a year and a half ago, I got to start going and documenting the growth of Ren, his other daughter, his most recent daughter. And Ren, I've shared pictures with y'all from when Ren didn't even have fur yet. I got to watch 2 of his babies grow up, and it was amazing. But every time I visited, even though I would spend way too long with Paya when she was there, and way too long getting Joey photos of Ren every chance I got, I always made sure that I gave some time to LaRue and to K-Wing, the 2 females there, but especially to Morobe. And within the last year especially, I was really interested in his mobility, and was talking to the team there about how they were setting up the habitat and everything, and kind of adjusting to his old age. And to be super clear, when I say I was talking about it, I was not guiding, I was learning. They are amazing and talented, and you all know that. But it meant a lot to me to see him aging, and to get to experience all of those parts of his life. And I was not ready to say goodbye. It turned out that he had splenic cancer of the spleen. And it wasn't really until what would be his last day that he started acting a little weird. And so they did an examination, and they found it, and, the decision was made to euthanize, which is the right decision. So it's really cool, because Morobe never really had a bad day. He felt a little sick one morning, and that was it. And I love the team at Roger Williams Park Zoo for giving that to him. And yeah, I know I'm talking a lot, but, it's Morobe, man. It's Morobe. I loved that guy. He got me through a tough time and then helped me to, him and his family, along with the staff at Roger Williams Park Zoo, made me so much more passionate about tree kangaroos than anything else could have. And I can honestly say that every single thing that I do to help tree kangaroos, and I was in a meeting with the SAFE yesterday, working on new plans and coming up with new ideas. It all stems from those people and those tree kangaroos. And one of the biggest things that inspired me was spending time with them, but another one was when his video went viral and I saw how many people didn't know about them and could be reached for them. It's amazing. So I'm going to stop rambling now. But the headline story this week is that Morobe has passed away. He had just turned 19. He was a good old age for a tree kangaroo. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to be up in Providence in like 2 months. And I'm going to go and I'm going to visit and I'm going to see all of my little friends. But it's going to feel a little empty without Morobe being there. So, so grateful to the team there and just for giving him the best life. All right, so I put in some transition music there because it really, really, really felt gross going right from that to births without a little bit of a break. So that does bring us to our births for the week, and I actually only have 2 that I'm going to talk about this week. So our good friends at Tanganyika Wildlife Park have announced the birth of a giraffe calf to mom Menadora. And this is a particularly exciting birth because Menadora actually was pregnant before and had an unsuccessful birth. So seeing her able to recover and give birth is absolutely fantastic. So, the mom is doing a great job taking care of the little one who is meeting the herd and hanging out. And yes, of course, the most important part of all of this is that the giraffe calf does in fact already have zoomies, and we love some zoomies. And then the other birth that I want to address this week is at the Louisville Zoo, where they have had the hatching of a little blue penguin, also known as a fairy penguin. The little one had a quick weigh-in and checkup and seems to be doing well, but then was immediately returned to his parents. And his parents are doing a great job taking care of him, as penguins usually do. So congrats to the team at the Louisville Zoo. And then that brings us to our other deaths for the week. Don't know if y'all heard, Morobe passed away. But outside of that, Sedgwick County Zoo has said goodbye to Grom, the 17-year-old Amur tiger. He was suffering from a progressive musculoskeletal condition, and they managed it for a while, but you guys know the story. It eventually is no longer manageable, and then it's time to say goodbye. I did get to see Grom when I visited Sedgwick County last year, which really meant a lot to me because he actually, I believe he was born in maybe Pittsburgh, but he lived a long time in Philadelphia, and he was like the tiger at the Philadelphia Zoo. I actually have some friendships that literally stemmed from hanging out watching Grom. So friends to this day. So yeah, he was a very special boy, and he is greatly missed. Suhani, the female sloth bear born at Cleveland Metroparks Zoo in December of 2024, has passed away. She was having a medical procedure due to an injury, and she unfortunately never woke up from the anesthesia. The loss is a huge one for the zoo and was shocking to the team, who were just devastated. It was actually, I think it happened the day before I was there for my tree kangaroo time that I mentioned, and I actually had plans to meet with some of the team, but obviously they reached out and asked to cancel, and I, of course, completely understood. But I like that story because it's kind of a nice reminder. Like, these people care so much that they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to see me. And one in particular I'm like friends with, but like they needed to be together and they needed to mourn and they needed to do the rest of their job. And that's what they had to do. So they did it. And I love and respect that very much. Man, keepers really love their animals. We all do, though, don't we? But actually, that was not the only tiger to go this week. The Toronto Zoo has said farewell to Hari, a male Sumatran tiger. He was 17, considered geriatric, with 15 being the life expectancy for the species. And sadly, kidney issues became a problem for him. And, that's actually really common with big cats and very hard to manage. And they did for a while, but then it was time to say goodbye. Our friends at the Oakland Zoo have been very upfront about the fact that Savo, one of their giraffe herd, was suffering from a variety of neurological symptoms and that they were pushing the bounds in some ways of known veterinary medicine in the process of trying to take care of him. Unfortunately, his quality of life did continue to decline, so the decision was recently made to euthanize him. And the nice thing is that a lot of his care team was actually able to surround him for the procedure and say goodbye. He was a gentle giraffe who was known for being quite mischievous within the herd, and especially because of all the amazing work that they did for him. He is very missed. Charlie, a Komodo dragon that lived at the Chattanooga Zoo, has passed away. The large lizard was acting lethargic and wasn't keeping food down, and the vet team started to assess the situation, but Charlie passed away the next day before they could figure out what was going on. Necropsy results showed that she had an ovarian cyst burst, something that progresses very rapidly and is impossible to detect beforehand. Reproductive diseases are actually super common in Komodo dragons, so much so that it actually leads to a significantly lower life expectancy for the females of the species than the males. One thing that Charlie was known for was that she really enjoyed boxes, and traditionally, with a lot of animals, including Komodo dragons, that means destroying them, and she did. But what sets Charlie apart is she also liked wearing them, which, talking about a Komodo dragon, that's extra adorable knowing that is the case. She was also very special in that she gave birth to 3 hatchlings through parthenogenesis over the years, which is, of course, an asexual form of reproduction. So that's very cool, but unfortunately, she has passed away. And then last but not least in our deaths section this week, Taronga Western Plains Zoo has said goodbye to Juwain and Farsi, the last 2 Persian onagers that called the zoo home. The 2 were half-brothers and were born at the zoo in 1999 and 2001, respectively. For many years now, the zoo has been managing age-related health issues in the BFFs, but last month, Farsi saw a sudden decline in his health, which led to the decision to euthanize him. And this led to a big challenge. Onagers are a hugely social species, and Farsi and Juwain had been bonded for a very long time. They really were best friends, as well as brothers. And so in light of that, and the fact that you cannot introduce onagers to a new herd, especially like older males, the decision was made to euthanize Juwain as well. It wasn't quite his time in the same way that it was for Farsi, but there was no way that he would have a positive quality of life by himself. And that was the decision that the people who knew him best made. And obviously, this is one of those incredibly hard welfare decisions that people with reasonable minds can disagree on. But to me, it does make a lot of sense. So I am sending lots of love to the zoo for this incredibly hard decision, as well as the 2 hard losses. And then moving on, we get to another challenging story this week. And I haven't seen this getting a ton of press in the States yet. Although many of you did send it to me. But we need to talk about Yaya, the giant panda. So if you don't remember, Yaya lived at the Memphis Zoo before going back to China when all of the pandas did their big mass exodus from the United States and there were no pandas in the U.S., except now there are a bunch of pandas in the U.S. and more coming. That whole thing. And Yaya lived at the Memphis Zoo. And while activist groups in China and in the States and stuff tended to be extra crazy about all of the giant pandas, Yaya was the one who really got a lot of criticism. Yaya had some discolored fur and always looked very malnourished and just kind of sunken in. And there were so many complaints that the Chinese government did come over and send like veterinarians and stuff over, and they were all like, no, Yaya's cool. She's healthy. She's doing fine. She's an older girl, and they thought maybe she had a genetic skin condition or something like that caused her to look the way that she did. And I'm going to pause here for a second and say, you know, I love the Memphis Zoo. They are an ACA accredited facility. I've been there multiple times. We've had them on the podcast, and their welfare is incredible. Okay. I will say that when I first saw Yaya and before I knew what was going on, I also was like, what the heck is wrong with this animal? Not thinking that she was being mistreated or anything, but, you know, something was up, right? And yeah, so they said maybe some kind of genetic condition. Well, recently, the zoo that Yaya went to in China has posted pictures and videos of her. And y'all, when I saw them, I had to pause and look and see if they were the same thing or see if this was some anti-zoo group posting fake pictures or like, you know, different pandas and claiming they were Yaya or something like that. But no, it's the actual zoo. She looks like a panda. She's rolly. She doesn't look sunken in. Her fur looks black where it's supposed to be black and white where it's supposed to be white. And she just looks like the healthiest panda. And I have to be honest, I did not reach out to the Memphis Zoo before recording this. I strongly wanted to. And then I got caught up in all the tree kangaroo stuff, and it really took a lot of my time, and I ran out of time. So if this story continues to be a big deal, I will reach out to them, and I am curious to hear what they have to say if that happens. But I was able to talk to a couple of different veterinarians in my life who it's easy to just reach out to. One of them I can just tap on the couch, which is convenient. And obviously, you know, they don't know what was happening. They have not examined the bear. However, they both independently pointed out to me that regional allergies are a thing, and it's totally fine. You can be totally healthy, but still be affected by allergies. Like, that's not meaning that you're unhealthy. And that they can have a major impact on animals, especially on their skin condition. So maybe it was that? I don't know. But what I do know is that a whole lot of people who for years and years and years were claiming that Yaya was proof that, you know, giant pandas shouldn't be in the United States, or the Memphis Zoo is evil, or the AZA is evil, or all the zoos are evil, or we're all going to die, whatever. They have found their voice again and are using this as, you know, quote, proof that they were right. And I don't think it was, I mean, I clearly know it's not that. But I will be curious to see how much this blows up or how much this blows over. But again, keep in mind, like, vets from China who own the bears came over and were like, nah, yeah, it's cool. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this one before it goes away, and I'll be keeping an eye on it. On a much more fun note, I do love when zoos aren't afraid of a little anthropomorphism. And the Cincinnati Zoo recently announced that 3 of the manatees that were rehabilitated at the zoo have been released back into the Florida waters they came from. And this is a thing they do every year, like clockwork. It's amazing the work that they do and the Columbus Zoo does, getting these animals from Florida and then back to Florida and rehabilitating them. And it is just awesome. But the story that they shared mentioned that trackers there noticed that Lily Pad, one of the 3 manatees that was just released, was swimming with Manhattan, a manatee who rehabilitated at the zoo back in 2023. And the zoo pointed out that, you know, the 2 manatees never lived together at the zoo, but that it's fun to imagine that they're comparing notes about their stay at the zoo. And you know what? It is. I love thinking like that. I love having fun with that kind of stuff. Obviously knowing that it's not what is literally happening. But I don't know. I feel like the industry moves way too far away from anthropomorphism. Like, I feel we've talked about this on here before, but there are certain things, like I know facilities will not use the word favorite. Some facilities, only a few, but they won't use the word favorite about an animal's favorite diet, you know, or enrichment item, because they say, oh, well, the word favorite is a human construct. And that's where I pause to point out that all words are human constructs. But I get where they're coming from, kind of. But I do think a lot of facilities lean too far away from it. And I do think that anthropomorphism, to a certain extent, can really help people connect with animals, especially like laymen. So seeing that from the Cincinnati Zoo especially really made me happy. And you know what? I guarantee you that if those two manatees were sharing notes and comparing, what it was like staying at the zoo, they all had nothing but great things to say. After a lot of controversy, the San Francisco Zoo has named their new CEO and executive director, going with Cassandra Costello. She's been serving in the role in an interim basis since August of 2025, and both the staff and the community around the zoo have really taken to her leadership, which is one of the reasons she was offered the position on a permanent basis. I'm personally really excited about this appointment, as many of the staff who reached out to complain about her predecessor have reached out again to express their excitement about this hire. And that's not the only major leadership change taking place in an AZA facility this week, as the Monterey Bay Aquarium has welcomed Dr. Jenny Gray to the role of CEO. She was the president of Zoos Victoria in Australia since 2007 and was also the president of WAZA, which is the World Association of Zoos and Aquariums, for a 2-year term as well. She is known for being a fierce advocate of conservation and using zoos and aquariums to further in situ conservation efforts. Many of the people involved in tree kangaroo conservation have a relationship with Dr. Gray, and they are very excited about this hire. So I guess I am too. I also just kind of realized that, even for an episode of Rossifari, this one's really tree kangaroo heavy. I make no apologies. And apparently, a lot of leadership is changing in the zoo world this week, as our next story is about our dear friend Ron McGill. Ron has announced his retirement from Miami-Dade County, effectively ending his tenure at the Miami Zoo. He leaves behind a legacy of conservation photography and communication that is basically unmatched. The man has done so much, from his office in Miami, to his visits to all 7 continents, to the constant work with Make-A-Wish families, to his appearances on nationally syndicated television and radio programs, often like sports programs, reaching audiences beyond the normal zoo crowd. It's amazing what he has accomplished in his career, and I'm not surprised that he is the episode of Rossifari that has been the most downloaded. And the best part of this is that his career is not over yet. While he's retiring from the big office at Zoo Miami, he will continue to work with the Ron McGill Foundation and to serve as an ambassador for animals and conservation at large. His retirement video was over 7 minutes long, and I watched every second, completely just loving it. He's such an amazing storyteller. So congrats on the next phase, Ron. And yes, I did mention that there were a lot of tree kangaroo things, and you're probably thinking, some guy retired. Can't mention tree kangaroos in this. But Ron McGill was actually the first person who ever introduced me to tree kangaroos. When I interviewed him at Zoo Miami, I mentioned that I loved them and had not met them, and he took me right over and basically threw me at the staff. And that's where I first got to meet tree kangaroos. So yeah, we're keeping with the theme here.
Stereotypical animal podcast theme song. Here to bring you to conservation news.
A New Orleans-based organization named Grounds Crew, spelled Krewe, has been looking at the environmental impact of the annual Mardi Gras celebration, and, not surprisingly, the weeks-long party is not the best for the environment. For the last decade, the celebration has produced an average of 1,123 tons of waste per year. Also, recent studies show that 60% of Mardi Gras beads contain unsafe levels of lead. These beads often get left on the streets, where they make their way into animal habitats, including the waterways. In 2018, for instance, the city discovered 46 tons of beads clogging catch basins that are essential for clearing floodwaters. Given the issues that flooding can cause, along with leaving lead in the water, this is clearly a huge issue. And all of this is kind of ironic, since the New Orleans area is especially vulnerable to climate change because of hurricanes and coastal erosion. Now, organizations such as Grounds Crew have started an initiative named Recycle Dat, organized by the city's Tourism Association. The coalition collected over 74,500 pounds of bottles, cans, plastic, and items thrown from parade floats, making sure that they are not only recycled, but recycled ethically. Everything has a determined destination, and that is incredible because we've talked before that not all recycling is actually getting recycled, so that's very cool. Grounds Crew is also stepping up by creating a catalog of sustainable throws that people can buy and toss from their floats in the parades, and these throws include jambalaya mix, native flower starter kits, and plant-based glitter. Now, I will say about plant-based glitter, it still gets everywhere, but it won't put plastic into the environment. So that's good. I really love this initiative. And as they say in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Oh, no, wait. That's a different French thing. Anyway, California has granted mountain lions protections under the state's Endangered Species Act. This is extra important since the federal Endangered Species Act is currently at risk of disappearing, being sundowned. So yeah, 6 different populations spread between Southern California and the Central Coast will receive these protections. The current issues facing the cats include habitat loss and fragmentation, car strikes, and rodenticide poisoning. And the Endangered Species Act in the state will help with the habitat loss and fragmentation parts of that for sure. And there could also be more wildlife crossings because of this, which would help with the car stuff. Very cool. On a sadder note, avian influenza has been confirmed in Gentoo penguins on Heard Island, which is the first time the virus has been detected in any birds in an Australian territory. It is too early to know what effect the disease will have on the penguins and on the other birds that live on the island, the Heard Island cormorant and the black-faced sheathbill. But knowing how disastrous this disease has been to birds and even some mammal species, this is really scary. While the island is a full 4,000 kilometers away from the main island of Australia, the fact that it has gotten that close is also a warning to the rest of the country that they may no longer be safe from avian influenza. But we won't end the section on a bad note. Instead, I'm happy to share an incredible stories of a species starting to bounce back from the brink of extinction. The brink-stinction? The ex-brinction? Anyway, populations of the Hainan gibbon, a species that lives on the Hainan Island in the South China Sea, saw its population dwindle to a reported 13 individuals by the year 2003. However, the population started to slowly grow again and now is estimated to be at right around 42 individuals. And that's still a small number. And, you know, but it's a good one. It's better than 13. And while their story, it involves all of the usual cool conservation work stories, things you hear about on here every week, that's not actually what makes this one a special story. Instead, the exciting part here is that you would think that the population would be ransacked with inbreeding and the genetic issues that come because of that. But instead, that's not the case. Scientists have found that the population actually is showing low genetic load, which is the term often used for the effects of inbreeding. So why is this? Well, it's believed that the current population comes from 2 different lineages that both evolved after the genetic bottleneck of the Ice Age. And the breaking of the bottleneck led to 2 modern lineages which evolved both with a lot of genetic diversity, but also with protections from the issues of inbreeding because of those lineages coming from a group of animals that were stuck in a genetic bottleneck. So all of that is to say that these animals were incredibly lucky in their genetic lottery, and because of that luck, the species is currently, I wrote the word thriving, but that seems a bit of a stretch when there aren't even 50 of them, but it is recovering in an amazing way. And doing so without a lot of the risks that you have with genetic issues from very small populations growing.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
All right, so I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that I put in the wrong song there, but I didn't. Our other news is actually a poop story.
Poop story.
And so this one comes from my lovely friend and wonderful regular listener, Michaela Beretka. And so she messaged me and she said, I was listening to Tuesday's episode and I got to the poop story.
Poop story.
And right as the song was playing, Billy, the scarlet macaw that Michaela works with, pooped on her while she was changing his food bowls. So that bird is apparently a fan and really knew what to do when he heard the song. So I really thought y'all would appreciate that one. It made me laugh a lot.
Oh, animal holidays. Animal holidays. Hey!
All right, it is February, which is Adopt a Rescue Rabbit Month, International Hoof Care Month, National Bird Feeding Month, and Fishing Cat February. For your individual days, you've got the 20th, which is Love Your Pet Day. I'm sorry, isn't that every day? The 21st is World Pangolin Day, the 23rd through the 27th is National Invasive Species Week, and the 27th is also International Polar Bear Day. Those are your animal holidays for the week. All right, well, there you have it, folks. Very Tree Kangaroo heavy episode of Rossifari Zoo News, and also released on Love Your Pet Day. So, yeah, that's again, that should be every day, but I'm really hung up on that. But speaking of pets that I love, y'all aren't my pets, but I do love you if you are one of my patrons, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, Melissa Reed, Carrie Kirkpatrick, John Lewis, who is also here for the stickers, Kevin Williams, and Cormac McMuffin. Meow. And I'd also like to say thank you, and that I love you, to everyone who sent me stories this week, including Anya Keene, Colleen Linehan, Kim Cooley-Croninger, Carrie Kirkpatrick, Kevin Williams, Emily Rockbuck, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Natalie Taco, Ren Howell, Jacob Zinn, Kevin Williams, Holly Page, Nikki Morley, Dr. Zoe Rossi, Barbara Bennett, Ken Tryon, Marianne Rossi, Ali Malensky, Kay Malensky, April Taylor, Daniel Cohen, Kelly Palawi, Rowena White, Zach Poe, Jamie Chavez, Kristen Khalil, Jennifer Zune, Becca Robinson, Strix. I forgot to say Strix's name last week, so I have to say it again. Strix. Michael Sebastian, Melissa Kinney, and Rick Schwartz. Thank you all so much for contributing to this week's episode. We'll be back on Tuesday with the brand new interview episode. And until then, remember, friends, the words newsy credits backwards are Steider Yiswen. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo. And this is particularly